have to realize that when they are coming to you because they don't know. They are struggling, and we need to teach them. We need to teach them each and everything. Because if they knew it, they wouldn't be sitting in front of you, right? So we have to ensure, we have to be alert. So it's not just being a teacher, but you also need to be a therapist. You need to understand what that person is going through, what the difficulties are. You should be observing each and everything about that person. You should know everything about that person whom you are. I'm using the word person because you can be working, you can have an adult, a 40-year-old adult sitting in front of you and not a child, not just a child. So you have to ensure these people have gone through a lot of failures, and we don't want them to experience failure when they come to us because they have had enough of it. So you have to be alert to it, and before they experience failure or you feel that okay, this is something which they will not be able to do or which they will find difficult to do, you uh, use preventive measures. You provide them the answers, you show them how to do it. So you are ensuring at every time that they do not experience failure. And when you ask them something, it is something that you have taught. That is what it means by can't. You cannot assume anything, right? So only if you have taught something to your student, you test your student for it. You ask your student for it. If you haven't taught your student, you are not going to ask any questions that are related to what you haven't taught. Very important. So you prevent mistakes from happening. Students must practice correct responses. So if your student makes an error, don't focus on that error. Provide the correct response and ensure that your student is practicing those correct responses. Don't discuss errors because what happens is you start discussing errors and that stays here. And then after that, when you are showing the correct procedures, it's lost because then the student's mind is, all with the what you have discussed about the errors, and the student goes back with the incorrect procedures in mind rather than the correct procedures. So just talk about and provide correct procedures and correct responses without discussing the incorrect responses. And you must use direct instruction, nothing inferential. You want your student to know something, be very specific and direct. Provide it. Okay? Don't think, okay, let me see if my student can understand if I rephrase it or say it differently. No. Please don't do that. Next is automaticity. Practice until automatic. And that is where your 100% accuracy will come. Practice, practice, practice. And that is why we have that saying, practice makes one perfect. Processes and strategies for reading and spelling taught and reviewed continuously, stressing person's good intellect. Okay? You know that the person in front of you is smart and intelligent. Just because he or she cannot read, don't treat that person as somebody who lacks understanding, who lacks comprehension, who is not able to, do things or master things involving higher order thinking and reasoning. You need to keep challenging their brain. Do not underestimate them or undermine them just because they are not able to do reading and spelling. And so students must think their way through the language and emphasis on how and why the language works, not just because it does. Okay? So you have a lot of people who continue saying English is a funny language, right? Okay? There is no consistency in the language. No, but there is. And so when students ask you why it is spelled in a particular way or pronounced in a particular way, if you don't know why, if you don't know the rules of reading and spelling and writing, your response is going to be because this is how it is. This is how I learned in school. This is how my teachers taught me. Okay, I learned it. You have to learn in the same way. No, you have to know the rules. You have to know the structure of the English language, because if your students, and before your students can ask you why it has to be read or spelled in a particular way, you have to provide them the basis of it. You have to provide them with the spelling and reading rules so that you are not giving them an opportunity to ask you why it is read and spelled in a particular way. You have already provided it to them. Now, Anna Gillingham was a school psychologist, and for 2 years she worked at Dr. Orton's with Dr. Samuel Orton as his research assistant. And she, along with Bessie Stillman, was a classroom teacher. They organized the remedial technique. So, like I said, Samuel Orton was a neuropsychiatrist. He came about with the principles, and now the two of them worked on the principles and came up with the basic procedures. So what they did was, one, they outlined basic procedures to use when presenting and reviewing new information. That is, first and foremost, you need to use a keyword to unlock the sound. So if the letter is T, you need to provide a keyword to elicit the correct sound for T. So if it is T and you know it's stable, then the first sound has to be T and not T. Right? You don't say T either, do you? No, it's stable. So it's T. So for each letter, you need to provide a keyword. Then you use a linkage procedure to build in automatic association of the letter's name, sound, rigid form, and graphic print. They need to be able to see the link, because what I showed you, A, you all named it A, right? Because you knew that, because it's actually a symbol. It can be a ball, a star, it can be a flower, anything, right? So, graphic representations are all symbols to which we have given names. So they should be able to see the link between the letter A, the sound, and how it to read it in a word. We already did that exercise, right? And when you hear the sound, you should know how you need to write it. Simple to more complex, begin with CVC, that is consonant, vowel, consonant patterns. So you begin with single consonants and vowel. So you start, like I said, with the basic speech sound, that is A, and then you add a consonant to it. So if you add, it becomes at, and then if you add one before it, so it becomes bat, and that is how you build on from simple to more complex. The sounds should be pronounced accurately in isolation, which I already said. It's and not term. And teach phonetically regular first, then irregular. So when you are introducing, you first focus on all the reading and spelling words that are regular in nature. That follow phonetically. 85% of the English language is regular when it comes to reading and spelling. It's only 15% that is irregular. And if you will go through it, that 15% is, of that 15%, there are hardly any words, if you go to see, that we use on a regular basis, that are frequently used in our day-to-day life or even academically. So there is very little for a student to do it through sight reading, okay, or learning the spelling by heart. The rest all is regular. So you first focus on what's regular. Then you use structured procedures for reading and spelling. Procedures for blending sounds into words is reading, and you have to blend smoothly left to right to the word, and at no point you should encourage sight reading or recognizing it as a whole word. And procedure for spelling words is by sequencing their sounds. And of course, with it should follow handwriting practice, because after all, students have to write, put it down on paper, right? So the handwriting practice should work towards precision in letter formations, so that not only others but the student him or herself should be able to read, because we get a lot of students who write but they are unable to read their own handwriting. Next, they emphasize the need to individualize the therapy for each student. You need to plan a minimum of 2 years of remedial instruction. Any Orton Gillingham based program, and there are many, will say that for a remedial program to be effective, it has to be minimum of 2 years with 4 to 5 times a week of 1 hour sessions. Okay? Minimum 4, nothing less than 4 hours a week. Alright? So that is 4 days a week minimum. And if you do it the way it has to be done, it has to be simultaneous, using all your senses together, like I said. It has to be systematic and cumulative. It has to follow a logical order from the easiest to the most basic elements to more difficult material, and it has to be based on something that has already been learned. Okay, and constantly and continuously reviewed to strengthen memory. You cannot say we have done this, now we move ahead. No. Every time you introduce something new, you have to review whatever you have taught in the past. Direct instruction, no room for inferential learning, and there has to be continuous teacher-student interaction. Synthetic and analytic, the parts of the language, and then how the parts work together to form the whole, and analytic is how it can be broken down. So synthetic would be when you are doing what relegation for reading, yes, and analytic would be for spelling. So I am just going to show you some. I spoke about the Sunday system and the dyslexia therapist training program. So I will take you quickly through what the Sunday system looks like. So get an idea.
Thank you for taking the time to view the following demonstration by Windsor Learning. The Sunday System is an easy-to-use, multi-sensory, structured phonics reading program. The Sunday System is based on the esteemed Orton Gillingham philosophy, which promotes teaching reading through hearing, seeing, and feeling. It is used for beginning instruction, corrective instruction, and for English language learners. This proven process dramatically enhances any learner's progress, as well as balancing existing school curricula. It is commonly used in small groups or for one-to-one direct instruction. Because of the design and structure of this system, the user will acquire skills and strategies for appropriate instruction without the need for formal training. Windsor Learning also provides professional development options. Teacher training workshops
easy to implement by a teacher, aide, tutor, and/or parent. All the lesson plans are included. All of the materials for each lesson plan are also included. The Learning Plan Book is the heart of the Sunday system. The learning process has been divided into 41 levels. The first 5 are called pre-reading levels. Start with learning the alphabet and progress until the learner is able to match the sounds with 17 consonants. The program starts with these consonants that are the easiest to learn. Easiest because the sound of the letter is embedded in the name of the letter. Sounds like B, B, and T, and so on. As soon as the learner knows these first 17 sounds, the reading levels begin. We teach the vowels starting with the short A sound. When the learner knows these consonants and short A, they are able to read words. By reading words right away, the learner can see progress quickly and is immediately encouraged. There's a 90-minute instructional video broken down into small segments, 1 segment per level. The video shows Arlene Sunday at work with students, demonstrating her techniques. Watch the video before beginning instruction at each level. Let's look at how the 41 levels are laid out for the helper. Reach 4 spell words and cards to the learner and asks for the sound of each letter. In each step, specific written directions guide the helper, so with little or no might have to fill in. That is one reason we've provided detailed instructions. Even teachers who are well-trained have gained knowledge in teaching phonics using this program. In step 2, spell sounds, the helper says, write the sound B. The learner repeats the sound and writes it on paper. It's already been learned. There are many similar review opportunities in this program. In step 3, read words, the learner reads individual words from various sources. We have Word Book, page 15. The Word Book is a companion piece to the Learning Plan Book. The Word Book has word lists and sentences that are compiled for each read. Dictate as many words and sentences as the learner can write in 7 minutes. Notice there are time limits for each step. If the learner does not finish all the material in the allotted time, go on to the next step. We suggest that every session lasts between 30 and 40 minutes. Helper how to introduce each new sound. Step 6 is read aloud. Again, many options have been provided. There are sentences to read out of the word book, a game board designed to be used with the word cards, reading strips, and a reading window designed specifically for the Sunday system. To use the reading strip, just slide a strip into the reading window and the learner reads down the list. The same 6 steps appear in every level. The directions for implementation are identical at each level.
So, just for you to get an overview of what a structured multisensory language program looks like, and quickly, we are short of time, but I'll just show you how the sounds and syllable program works. So, you start with an alphabet activity, and then this is what is called visual review. Like I said before, introducing anything new, you have to review previously taught material. This is what we call as auditory review, where the student listens to the sound and then writes and makes a letter. So, this is getting a sense of how the letter looks like. This is multisensory discovering how the sound is produced, what is involved in the production of the sound. Letting the student know what a reading letter and a writing letter looks like and how the two are different, and the stress is on cursive handwriting. This is what you talk about linkages, so taking to the multisensory linkages to where the student is naming the letter, saying the sound, and writing the letter. Mastering it through skywriting and desk writing. Then you're going for reading, where the coding is very important as you code and read, making them aware about the position of the letters in a syllable. So reading is done through the book, through syllable cards. And then making them read phrases and sentences gradually. You can see what he is doing is coding and reading so that he gets the sounds right. No reading to be done without coding. That helps in slowing down the process. Sometimes they think and do things because their brain runs very fast, so we need to slow them down. Then this is what I was talking about, handwriting practice. Getting the letter formation right, an integral part of remediation. And this child has very illegible handwriting and he writes beautifully in cursive. This is what we call sound symbol tracking, where it's a precursor to spelling. sound symbol tracking goes on to paper. Ready for the next? Go. You can look at, I don't know whether the clarity of handwriting is there, but you can see how beautifully he's writing. Yes? And you can achieve these results only if you do not compromise at any stage with handwriting or any of the procedures. If you are consistent with the procedures, you will see results. And then from finish. So how many you finish? Okay. I just wanted you all to have a glimpse of what the programs look like. And like I mentioned, the Sunday system is we use for the mildly affected, but the Sounds and Syllables program is for the severely affected. And it's at one-on-one, but Sounds and Syllables, you can even do it in a mainstream classroom. And we are having projects with schools where we are training the teachers in the Sunday system. So, because anybody who is interested in working with students with difficulties and who have a good foundation of the English language base are eligible for training. You don't have to be a qualified special educator, nor do you have to be actually a qualified teacher. The criteria is good English language skills and a passion for teaching and working with students with difficulties. So with this, I end my session on what multisensory structured language teaching is. And the next speaker is Mrs. Lalita Ramanujan, a very dear friend. I have known her for more than 20 years. The first time I visited Chennai, my first exposure to a major conference at the international level was at Alpha to Omega Learning Center in 1994. So we date back to so many years of relationship. So I have Fatima Martins, who will be our special educator, who will be introducing Mrs. Lalita. Good morning, everyone. Masud ma'am has already given us the connection to Lalita ma'am, but I'll still introduce her. Mrs. Lalita Ramanujan is the founder and director at the Alpha to Omega Learning Center. She has been working in the field of specific learning difficulties for more than 28 years. She has an MPhil in psychology and a diploma in dyslexia therapy from the Hornsby International Center, London. She is a certified trainer for the Strategic Intervention module in Kansas University, an NILD Professional Certified Education Therapist from the National Institute of Learning Development, USA, an IDA Certified Dyslexia Therapist, and a Feuerstein Instrumental Enrichment Program trainer, Israel. She has conducted numerous training programs for parents, teachers, and other professionals in the remedial methodologies across the country and abroad. Besides, she also conducts training programs for tutors apart from working with children. Ma'am, please welcome and give us your enriching experiences for us to work much better in our field of education. Thank you. Good morning, friends. Why don't you say something? 80s when my daughter was 5 years and I was looking around the country, there was no help, and that's why I started looking. I always see if there is so much of help, I'm sure many parents would be very, very happy. And I'm very grateful to Kate and Masrat for the wonderful work and for having me over here. It's such a big pleasure for parents to know that there is help for children. I will not touch on the multisensory aspect because Masrat gave us a beautiful overview of why it is important to teach them, and any program you can choose. As you know, we are called Alpha to Omega after Dr. Baby's book, but she herself is autism trained, and then when I did the autism training, you see so many programs have come. All that you have to see, it must be a structured, cumulative, sequential program and follow it very systematically. There are times when you see that one particular method is not going to be helpful. You may have to take in ideas because not every child is same. I always say, have a big bag of tools as therapists or parents when you want to help. Like you have a big cupboard of spices and you vary the spices and you're able to make a better dish. So in the same way, you can start helping children. When you say multisensory, I'm looking up there. Multisensory, we are using the visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic mode. You will see that in all the programs that we have taken. Because if the weakness, we have to help, we also have to use the strength. So multisensory is very helpful. And we at Alpha to Omega use quite a few methods. The Otto Gillingham, the Alpha to Omega by Dr. Berry, which is based on this. Then we also use the Kansas strategies, the learning strategies curriculum, which was developed for low achievers. Then we use the Truenstein's instrumental enrichment to help the thinking process of children. Then for the last 10 years, or I would say from 2007, we are using the National Institute of Learning Development's Educational Therapy Program, the core techniques. We also use Search and Teach for early intervention. It's a 2-year program and it has a 20-minute packet of assessment and 55 activities for perceptual development. It can be used for children with some difficulty or no difficulty, they become better. The good and the bad of it. We take children with developmental delay and we have been working and it is very effective. The sad part is parents see a little program ahead and a little improvement in the children. In 18 months, they come back and say, I don't want my child to come to Alpha to Omega. It has got developmental delay. Forgetting their child has also got that. I will take him to the mainstream. He says, please give us another year. He can be there all the 12 years. Just all the family, the stigma. They take the child before the program is over and they come back. But those who have stayed back, it's just remarkable. The development delays are not there. They come back to work in our senior school and they do wonderful. So I think we as therapists need to convince the parents and win them over. Sometimes they say yes in the beginning when they come to join you, but then after a little improvement, I think that is human. Why use multisensory? Because it looks at all these aspects. It is visual, auditory, tactile, kinesthetic, sequential, simultaneous, logic, reflective, verbal, interactive, indirect experience, direct experience, and intermodal experience. So you need to put in a lot of effort. It is just not saying, I'll teach you A, B, C, D, or I'll teach you tables and say 2 1s are 2. That's the way I learned. But it is not the way it works for all the children. Now, the next 2 slides, I'm not going to go into detail. It is just to show you a lot of research has been done on all the programs that we are using, and it is effective. It is not research from one country, it is from all over the world. You can read it, it is in your handout. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about each and show you a small clipping of how we are using it. The NILD, which we started using from 2007, it has got 5 core techniques. First one is called the Blue Book. The Blue Book was written by Cathy Dewar, who was also Orton Gillingham trained. It is based on the letter sound association, the spelling patterns, sounds of speech, which is a phonological awareness program, then sounds of reading, the spelling workbook, and the movable alphabet. So it comprises a whole multisensory module for reading and spelling. Then dictation and copy. It looks at the perception and the attention part of it. Then we have buzzer. It is an activity where the attention and the auditory processing is there. So it looks at various angles of cognition and perception as we go through. Math block, the basic number sense is taught. Mental math is the focus here. Then we have rhythmic writing, which we find very effective for handwriting, for concentration, for attention, and to curb impulsivity. Our ADHD children, if somebody comes and says, oh, what kind of children do you have? I said, we have a mixture of everything. And the children are very quiet. I said, no, I can sell dozens of ADHD. You know, they will be walking around in the school and then they see you with some mischief on it. Hit one teacher like this. Did you hit? No, I didn't hit, only my hand hit. Yeah? So it's fun. These children are blessed by God because they are lovable. They don't carry a grudge. So, let's look at rhythmic writing. And I really like this program, especially the rhythmic part, the rhythmic writing, because it sort of helps the child to bring in the tactile and the kinesthetic. A whiteboard is not to be used. They say a blackboard. Unfortunately, we don't have. When we did it in Singapore, we had to order and make blackboards for schools because it doesn't give you that touch feeling. Yeah. So it's a multimodal task that integrates motor and cognitive functions. Deborah Zimmerman, who is the author of this program, says she worked with Rosa Higgins, and Dr. Archie Silver, who made Search and Teach. She says they consider me as terribly compulsive as far as the technique goes. But I have watched children do this and watched what happened to their bodies and the changes in their voices as they were crossing the midline. Because when they do the 8, you have to cross the midline. I decided it was rather good technique for achieving more brain specialization than they did. As you watch the children do this, you will notice they don't enjoy crossing the midline of their body, and this is one of the things they have to do in rhythmic writing. We have children, you will see in the slide, when they do this, they do halfway and they turn and look at the teacher. You know that midline, whether it's the lazy this way or that, they have big difficulty. Now let's watch. Okay, any other reason why you do rhythmic writing? To be concentrate. Very good. Any other reason, teacher? Why do we do rhythmic writing? What do you do in rhythmic writing? You ask direction. To know our directions. And what all we do in rhythmic writing? You ask question to us, we should not stop. Yes. So without stopping, we should answer. How many activities you are doing? Many activities. So what is it called? When you do many activities, it is called? Multi-activities. Multi-task. Right, left, right, over, back, over. So this is for the teacher writing, and it takes them towards the handwriting. So the teacher always reviews the steps and then starts. And this is Swati. She's our training coordinator. She's also a therapist. She works